According to the National Electrical Code, the satellite mast and coax shield must both be grounded to the electrical service grounding system. To achieve this, firstly, drive an 8-foot copper-clad steel ground rod near the coax ground block. Secondly, connect the number 17 copper wire from the mast and a number 10 copper wire from the coax ground block to the new ground rod using grounding clamps. Thirdly, connect a number 6 copper wire from the new ground rod to the electrical service ground rod. The number 6 copper wire connecting the two ground rods must be buried at least 24 inches deep in accordance with the National Electrical Code. To protect the buried wire, consider installing it in a conduit or trench. If using a conduit, use a non-metallic material such as polyvinyl chloride or PVC to prevent corrosion from electrolysis. Ensure that all connections are tight and properly secured. Use corrosion-resistant grounding clamps and materials to prevent rust and ensure a reliable connection. Check the grounding system regularly to ensure it is in good condition. The National Electrical Code requires both the grounding wire for the mast and the grounding wire for the coax shield to be connected to the new 8-foot ground rod. This is to ensure that both components are adequately grounded. Grounding is a critical safety measure for any satellite dish installation. It protects your equipment and your home from electrical surges and lightning strikes. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, sets the standards for safe electrical practices, and it's important to follow these guidelines when grounding your satellite system. The primary goal of grounding is to provide a low-resistance path for electrical current to flow to the earth in the event of a fault or surge. This helps to prevent damage to equipment and reduces the risk of electrical shock. The NEC mandates that both the satellite mast and the coax shield be connected to the electrical service grounding system. This ensures that any stray currents are safely diverted to ground. The first step in properly grounding your satellite system is to install a dedicated ground rod near the coax ground block. An 8-foot copper-clad steel ground rod is recommended. This ground rod should be driven into the earth until its top is at least a few inches below the surface. Next, connect the number 17 copper wire from the satellite mast to the new ground rod using a grounding clamp. A grounding clamp is a specialized fitting that provides a secure and corrosion-resistant connection between the wire and the ground rod. Similarly, connect a number 10 copper wire from the coax ground block to the same ground rod, also using a grounding clamp. The coax ground block is a small metal box where the coaxial cable from the satellite dish is grounded. It's important to use the correct size wire for grounding to ensure that it can handle the potential fault current. The NEC specifies the minimum wire size based on the size of the service entrance conductors. For most residential applications, number 10 copper wire is sufficient for grounding the coax shield. The number 6 copper wire that connects the new ground rod to the electrical service ground rod must be buried at least 24 inches deep. This is to protect the wire from physical damage and to ensure a good electrical connection to the earth. When burying the grounding wire, consider installing it in a conduit or trench. A conduit is a protective tube that encases the wire and shields it from the elements and physical damage. If you choose to use a conduit, select a non-metallic material such as polyvinyl chloride or PVC. This will prevent corrosion from electrolysis, which can occur when dissimilar metals are buried in the ground together. Electrolysis is a process where an electrical current flows between two different metals in the presence of an electrolyte, such as soil moisture. This can cause one of the metals to corrode or dissolve over time. Using a non-metallic conduit eliminates this risk. It's crucial to ensure that all grounding connections are tight and properly secured. Loose connections can create resistance and reduce the effectiveness of the grounding system. Use corrosion-resistant grounding clamps and materials to prevent rust and ensure a reliable connection. Grounding clamps are typically made of copper or bronze and are designed to withstand the harsh conditions of the outdoor environment. Regularly inspect the grounding system to ensure it is in good condition. Look for signs of corrosion, loose connections, or damage to the wires or ground rods. If you find any problems, repair them immediately. The NEC requires both the grounding wire for the mast and the grounding wire for the coax shield to be connected to the new 8-foot ground rod. This is to ensure that both components are adequately grounded. The satellite mast and coax shield are separate conductive components, and they must each have their own grounding path. This provides redundancy and ensures that the grounding system is effective even if one of the grounding paths is compromised. In addition to the specific grounding requirements for satellite systems, the NEC also includes general grounding requirements for all electrical systems. These requirements are designed to protect people and property from electrical hazards. It's important to be familiar with these general requirements as well as the specific requirements for satellite systems. The grounding electrode system, which includes the ground rods and the grounding wires, must have an impedance to ground of not more than 25 ohms. Impedance is a measure of the opposition to the flow of alternating current. A low impedance is essential for effective grounding. The size of the grounding electrode conductor, which is the wire that connects the grounding electrode to the electrical service, must be sized according to the size of the service entrance conductors. The NEC provides tables that specify the minimum size of the grounding electrode conductor based on the size of the service entrance conductors. The grounding electrode conductor must be connected to the grounding electrode using a listed grounding clamp or connector. A listed grounding clamp or connector is one that has been tested and certified by a recognized testing laboratory such as Underwriters Laboratories, ORL. The grounding electrode conductor must be protected from physical damage. This can be achieved by running the conductor in a conduit or by locating it in a protected area. The grounding electrode system must be inspected and tested periodically to ensure that it is in good condition. A qualified electrician can perform these inspections and tests. It's important to note that the NEC is a minimum standard and local codes may have additional requirements. Always check with your local building department to ensure that you are following all applicable codes and regulations. Grounding is an essential part of any electrical system, and it's especially important for satellite systems. By following the NEC guidelines and taking the necessary precautions, you can ensure that your satellite system is properly grounded and that you and your property are protected from electrical hazards. Remember to consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns about grounding your satellite system. They can provide expert advice and ensure that the job is done safely and correctly. Grounding is often misunderstood, but it's a critical safety component in any electrical system. It's not just about protecting your equipment, it's about protecting yourself and your family. Taking the time to understand the principles of grounding and following the NEC guidelines can help you create a safer home. The number 17 copper wire is acceptable in this case because it is existing. However, a number 10 copper wire is generally recommended. The number 6 copper wire connecting the two ground rods serves as a supplemental grounding electrode conductor. 24-inch burial depth is a general requirement to protect the wire from physical damage. Using a conduit provides additional protection and can prevent accidental damage from digging or other activities. Non-metallic conduit is preferred to avoid corrosion issues. Electrolysis can occur when dissimilar metals are in contact in a moist environment. Regular inspection of the grounding system is crucial to identify and address any potential issues before they become a safety hazard. This includes checking for loose connections, corrosion, and physical damage to the wires and ground rods. Yes, the NEC requires both a grounding wire for the mast and a grounding wire for the coax shield to be connected to the new ground rod. This is to ensure that both components are adequately grounded and to provide a redundant grounding path. Remember that electrical codes can vary depending on your location, so it is important to consult with a qualified electrician or local building inspector to ensure that your grounding system meets all applicable requirements. A properly grounded satellite system is essential for safety and to protect your equipment from damage due to electrical surges or lightning strikes. In summary, ensure you use an 8-foot copper-clad ground rod. Use number 10 copper wire from the coax ground block to the new ground rod. Use number 6 copper wire from the new ground rod to the electrical service ground rod and bury it 24 inches deep. Consider a non-metallic conduit for protection. Lastly, maintain tight connections and regularly inspect the system.